Hey guys, uh, before we get started in this video, I just want to thank everybody for all the views and all the excellent comments for the Warbirds and Classics of the Bluegrass event that I went to last weekend. It was an absolute blast. Took way more video than I really planned on taking, but since it was really the only event that I've done video coverage this year, I decided to spend more time with the camera than flying, which kind of is the way things go anyway nowadays. But anyways, I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Um, Before I left down there, a friend of mine in the local flying club here in Kalamazoo got a hold of this little jewel, which is the old Great Plains Cap 231 EX. Um, Technically, it's a 40 size airplane, even though it's got a 64-inch wing. And this is an ARF. Um, but what's very unique about this particular ARF is um, what this plane meant for the time and the future of almost ready to fly airplanes. This plane was released in the late 90s and was kind of one of the pioneers of ARFs being oop, excuse me, of ARFs being built conventionally. And what I mean by that is underneath the covering of the airplane is a traditionally built balsa and plywood airplane. And it's actually covered in monocoat. So before this type of plane hit the market, most of the ARFs that were available um, were built rather conventionally underneath the covering, but the covering was usually a stick-on sheet or an off-brand covering material that you couldn't buy, you couldn't match it. So this was kind of the start of, I guess you could call quality ARFs. Um, but man, putting this thing together really has taken me back. And what I mean by that is, even though it's an ARF, there's a lot you have to build on this airplane. Um, what I just finished up is the, pay no attention to that. Pay no attention to that. This is a three-piece ABS cowl. So you have the white underside here, a blue top, and a blue and white front. As you can see, the color is not even close, but this is how it comes. And you got to glue this whole menagerie together. As you can see, I mean, no matter how good you are, you cannot make these look good unless you put it together and sand it and paint it. But this is how they were back then. And considering, it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. Everything worked out nice. Um, but there is a lot of building to do on this plane. For those that were in the hobby, 20 plus years ago, probably remember ARFs like this, where they are pre-hinged, but you got to glue all the hinges. So much stuff that's pre-done for ARFs now, you had to do on this airplane. Um, I mean, even the wing, as far as joining the wing, you have to set the incidents in the dihedral. When you join the wing and when you mount the wing, there's a lot of work to do. When you open up the box, there's a lot of stuff in there. So, a guy in our club years ago, would have been back in 98. Yeah, I believe, yeah, 98. Uh, had one of these planes with an OS 46 in it, and I just thought it was cool. The size, the way it was built, the color scheme. I've always wanted one, but of course they've been out of production for, oh shoot, at least 20 years, 18 to 20 years they've been out of production. But this one is rather special, like I said, because it's built conventionally and it's put together with CA and epoxy. For those that remember, throughout the mid 90s and the late 90s, A lot of ARFs were being built with a hot glue type adhesive that did not hold up, and really cheap Chinese covering that fell apart, was really brittle. You couldn't buy it, so if you damaged the airplane, you really couldn't fix it. Where this one here, it's all monocoat, which I don't want to get on that tangent because of what Horizon is doing right now, which is most likely making monocoat no more, which has put me onto kind of an anger streak, if you will. I'm pretty upset about it, but that's for a future bitch fest. But yeah, I started working on it a couple weeks ago before I went to Rosewood. Just finished up the cowl today. Everything fit good. The exhaust just kind of pokes out the bottom here. It was meant for a 46 two-stroke or a 70 four-stroke. This has got an OS 91 surpass in it. So that should be more than plenty. And it really fits in the cowl nice. Just the head sticks out. It's nice and clean. Looks good. But this was one that I wanted in my collection, but this is one that I wanted to fly as well. I have a lot of planes, kits, and ARFs in my collection that I have no desire to build because, if they broke, I couldn't get another one. And this is kind of the same thing. If this did crash, I could not get another one. But because of the way it's built, as long as the canopy didn't get destroyed, I could rebuild this airplane even from a rather severe crash. The cowl's also another story. If that got mangled up, I could be in big trouble. But, if there's enough motivation, you can do anything. But I don't plan on crashing it, so. I just wanted to show this to you guys. This is pretty cool. It's a lot of work. Getting the tail and everything glued on. You get an opening in here for the tail to slide in and epoxy it in, but it's an oversized opening. So not only can the stab do this, it can do this, it can do this. So you got to set everything just right before the epoxy hardens. So a lot of people in the hobby now that are used to the, take it out of the box and bolt it together type affairs probably could not put this plane together. It took some, even though it's an ARF, it takes some modeling skills to put this thing together. Especially gluing that stupid cowl together. Holy mackerel. I mean, this, and it comes in vacuum form pieces that you have to cut, and you have to fit everything together. And it was not easy. But it did turn out good. Except for that. Son of a bitch. Oh well, my Dremel slipped. Probably won't fly it this year. I'm just kind of working on it off and on when I feel like it. Trying to think what else there was. Not sure. I'm really excited just to have this airplane. I mean, there's something about it that I've always liked. Even though caps are not really my cup of tea, I liked this one. I've always wanted one, and here it is. So besides that, Saturday I made a trip over to the east side of the state and picked up this bad boy. This is a Ziroli Zero. This is old. I mean, this plane is at least 30 years old. Oh, my on-call phone is ringing. Stand by. Sorry about that. I'm on call. Got a water leak issue at work that I'm going to have to go take a peek at. But anyways, where was I at? Okay, so this is a Ziroli Zero. Every bit of 30 years old. It's weathered very nicely, but it's also very naturally weathered. It's kind of beat up, but that's all right. I got this airplane under unfortunate circumstances, I'm afraid to say. A fellow modeler on the east side of the state, and a friend of mine. I knew him pretty well throughout the years. He had passed away recently, and I was fortunate to get a couple planes from his estate. One being this one, the other one is a Ziroli Bearcat, which is in storage right now. That one is a complete rebuild project for another time, but I got it completely ready to go. It's got an old G62 in it. Ran it earlier, and it runs absolutely beautiful. As you can see, it's been around the block a few times. It does have the larger scale landing gear in it. Normally the Ziroli Zero had the shorter gear legs that fit into the wheel wells a lot better. This has the longer landing gear on it, so it looks better when the gear's down. But unfortunately, when it's retracted, it doesn't look all that fantastic. But, you know, it is what it is. But I've had to make some changes to it. And you can tell that this has had different arrangements for servos in it throughout the years because of its age. But when I got it, it had a 256 rod with 2 loose Z-bends going to a control horn right here that was also loose and busted. So I went in with a 440 rod at a straight shot, put a hard point on there with a brand new control horn. I'll doll all this up later with some like a nice epoxy fillet around the edge, and I'll airbrush it to match this color. But just for now, just to make it nice and solid. And the flaps had one servo in the center operating bell cranks for the flaps, and they didn't work very well. They were twisted and not lining up, and when I tried to adjust it, it broke. So I decided to kind of do what Tom did here and kind of copy that here. So I cut a couple panels in the wing, pulled it out, and mounted a servo with the basically I mounted the servo facing upwards, so just the top of the servo sticks out, and the servo arm goes on it. So it's a real clean setup. Put a couple plywood hard points in here, put it back down, ran a control horn. The flaps are all plywood, so the horn goes right into the plywood, and that works beautifully. So that worked out good. Had to re-secure the gear doors. They were not on there very well, and now they're pretty well secure. So this is ready to go. The gear works good, holds air. The fuselage, it's old school, I'll tell you. So it's pretty floppy. A lot of slop. But that's how they were back then. And they flew just fine. They were everything was good. So hopefully this weekend I'm going to get this in the air, and if everything goes good, it flies good, then I'll probably do some more work on it this winter. Probably redo the controls in the back, make everything more solid, and then areas that have extreme hanger rash and crash damage, I'll repair all this and make it look a little bit better this winter, or I may just leave it as is. I don't know. I got the 2 airplanes for a really good package deal, so it is what it is. As you can see, it's got some weathering and some natural weathering, and so it really looks good when it's all in one piece. It looks fantastic. So, weather permitting, Saturday, I'm going to get this in the air, hopefully have some video, and we will go from there. Alright, I got to head out to work and figure out what's going on there. Alright, later.